The question about the core problem of communism and why it fails is often brought up. The best way, from my experience, to illustrate this is to suggest a system in which communism or socialism redistributes sex. Those who are attractive and have a lot of sex with those they want to have sex with have to sleep then with people who are less attractive because, well, that's socially just. And who cares about those people with privileges? This has two major results. One, it becomes pretty unattractive to be attractive because you get fucked more often by pretty ugly people then. And secondly, if you are ugly, you have no reason whatsoever to change that. Such a society ends up to be generally more ugly than the alternative based on free choice. And it's not important of how attractive they was. In the beginning, communists bring this pretty often up and argue that in a richer society, communism works better, but the fact is, it just works a little longer. And I tell you why. Communists will point out that sex is different from money. Well, and of course they are right. They will also point to the success of communistic ideas, and they are right in a certain field. So let's tackle this as honest as possible. When communism is introduced, it changes a lot of stuff for the better for the working classes, for a brief period of time that is. Imagine your company with all the unnecessary parasites, such as level 2 managers, PR monkeys, controlling and so forth, throwing out of the window. Workers, engineers, professionals, project managers and leaders with real leadership qualities. Those who distribute resources into a useful manner, take charge and work unhindered by bureaucratic nonsense. But remember, we are talking about people imprinted with the working morale based on capitalism, but with the feeling that what they do now will benefit them more than before. This is the phase in which communism has its early and only peak. In such an environment, people function very efficiently and be quite happy. Happy people don't care about a new layer of might raising to power because, well, they are busy with being happy. All those useless but highly eloquent and often pretty clever people who are still able to fight with fancy words don't have a chance in economy anymore, but they are very well fitted for politics. So these people, those who would become middle-level hot air-producing, golf-playing managers and so forth in a capitalistic society, become politically involved. Since there are just so many posts in the parasitic party that can be sold to the public as absolutely necessary, those people dribble back to the economy, forced by government regulations and so on. So this kind of managers who enforce officially the will of the party, sold officially as the will of the people. So the same kind of people end up where they would end up in capitalistic societies after about one generation, but this time there is no way to get rid of them. In capitalism, the worker are pretty helpless against his cast of managers too. That's true, but the consumers can punish them by not buying their inferior stuff that is inferior because of bad management decisions done by incompetent people. Don't get me wrong, every organization large enough will have such parasitic elements, but a competition ensures that they can't take over completely, and if they do, their company fails, which kind of solves the problem. But there is no competition in communism which ensures that those elements run wild. This goes hand in hand with the experience that working hard is not rewarded but punished. The following generations have no desire to excel but to stay a bit below average, just as much below that you're not pointed out as a parasite but ensuring not to work anymore than necessary. What follows is stagnation and living from the substance. There is no gain, there is only slow loss. This phase can last long depending on how much substance there was to even start with. In the end, it ends with a crash and a transition into a free market, more or less. What happens then is interesting. The old and middle-aged fail to adapt, but the young, who have to fight the stigma of being lazy commies, have a massive motivation to excel. Those young people want to prove their worth, and they do that. Ex-communists are some of the most efficient workers I know and had the pleasure to work with. The key element, if you are in the business of creating something and rely on others, at least to a degree, is motivation. As said countless times before, we are moved by what is in for us. And with we, I mean all life forms in the universe. We don't work for the common good, we work for the survival of our own genes, be that our body or our children. This is what drives us, this is what drives every healthy organism. Communism delivers a motivation to behave below average, which leads to a spiral downwards. This argument that it would be great if it would work is not an argument, not at all. A communistic ideology based on the idea that anyone has to become as rich as possible and those underperformers have the duty to accept help from those above to climb up, suggested by the decembristic socialistic ideology, would perhaps be different, but this school of thought is dead and buried by the modern left, because it still favors the useful, which is apparently a bad thing in the eyes of the modern left, which is quite a shame. So for now, we can ignore that. Right now, capitalism is the best way to go for the workers and for the farmers and all others who earn their money by doing something that is considered useful by the market, which means in the end by the people. Communism, on the other hand, is ideal for all the others, and this goes to you, my young Padawans. Being a capitalist alone, waving a black and yellow flag, is not enough. Part of being a capitalist is being useful, is earning your own money, is not to rely on crumbs of others. Be useful, make something people need, and make more than the average guy does. This will not just bring your money, bring your power, and bring you more attractive sexual partners. It will also give you the confidence to say no to a system that takes from the useful and give it to the useless. And there's not a lot that is more important than that. Thanks for watching, like, share and subscribe, and have a wonderful day.